Welcome again to the ABC series of holistic health care via the Be Aware model that I devised around 30 years ago. So today's aspects for body, mind and emotional care, the letter I'm looking at today is V. So for the body, a word we all know, or most of us know, vitamins. So vitamins are a group of molecules that are associated with generally the fast utilization within the body. So we have our fat-soluble vitamins and our water-soluble vitamins. I've got so much to share that I'm speaking so fast. So water-soluble vitamins are your B and your C, and they go through your body quite quickly. Vitamin C, for example, around 250 milligrams gets pretty well used up in the small intestines within about 2 hours, and from memory. And so it's used pretty quickly. The fat-soluble vitamins are the A, D, E and K. And you've got other vitamins, but those ones are the main ones. And the important aspect of those is how we need them in our foods. We get them in generally most foods. I mean, even when you talk about just processed foods, there'll be some vitamins. However, the vitality, another word, probably dedicate the whole thing today to vitality. So the vitality is minimal when it's in a processed food. So quick, simple things with your foods is if you have something like fish and chips, and in my realm, there is no such thing as bad foods per se. It's what's relevant to the individual. This is totally about individual care, holistic health in my realm, in the Be Aware holistic healthcare realm. So holistically, fish and chips are fine. However, if you have fish and chips, remember that there's a high element of fats that are not so valuable to the body. And so we need things like vitamins to get the metabolites and the waste products moving well, so that you're not left with that residual of feeling heavy the next day or heavy that evening, or a little bit achy. Depends on your vulnerability. If you're a little bit prone to arthritic, you might feel a little bit stiff. So by having life foods, vitality foods, which is your raw foods that have the most vitality, or the quickest, I should say, vitality, then you would benefit greatly with, fresh greens, something whipped up from the garden, parsley, whatever it is, and even good old banana, because the potassium, which is not a vitamin, so I won't go too much into it. It's a mineral. So remember, vitamins are really important, not necessarily buying them over the counter. If you can get it in your food first, then you are doing fabulous. If you've got a chronic illness, then we're talking about a whole different realm here. However, for the main purpose of this series, the ABC series of holistic health, I generally associate my my advice for people that are healthy to start with. So I'll go into further with diseases down the track in other videos. So remember, anything that you eat, if it lacks raw or living food at the time, like your salads or your juices, fresh juices, etc., then it's wise to add it to it. Even steamed or cooked vegetables. There's some vitamins like vitamin A, which actually in vegetables is carotenoids, and they get converted in the liver to vitamin A. Having said that, even still, with those, it's you get more out of it when it's cooked or serrated really well, as in a juice. So that's your vitamin, and that'll give your body the sort of energy that a car would get with petrol. So it goes through it reasonably quickly, unlike the oil of a car, which is more like your minerals, which is another topic I'll talk about another time. So vitamins are like the petrol in the car. So, keep them within every meal, as many as you can. Your water soluble and your fat solubles. So your B, your C, and then of course your A, D, E, and K, which you get. Fat soluble ones you'll get in your dairies and your meats, including fish, and you'll also get it in plants for vegetarians, etc. So that's for the body. So V for the mind, and remember my definition of mind is the stillness and movement of thoughts that are contained within a field, summed up in very briefly. So for my V word, it's verbalization, if that's the word, I'm making it up, or being verbal. So to verbalize externally, and we do it internally, of course, we have our head talks, little head talks, we might have the, pros and the cons juggling from each other, and it's that differentiation between what is actually valuable, which is in the middle, which is our logic, to distinguish, is it a valuable verbal conversation our brain's having? However, I think what's more important is once we start to open our mouth and we speak to others, it's really important to be aware, hence the model name. Be aware of what you're actually saying. Now, generally speaking, if one is in their space, they are in their integrity, they have integrity, and they are being honest and authentic. So it's completely congruent. Congruent meaning the way you are within is how you're expressing yourself outside. You're being completely honest. That's my understanding anyway. Open to criticisms, put them in the comments if you want to share your knowledge as well. So to be honest with how you verbally are, and if you're coming from your space of center, your godliness, your best, not when you're angry, because when you're angry, you tend to say stuff that you don't necessarily mean, or when you say it, it gets misinterpreted because you're saying it in a mumble-jumble manner, and it's not being clear. But that precise language, if anyone's seen The Giver with Meryl Streep, brilliant movie, lot of subliminal messages in there, worth seeing. The Giver, pretty sure it's The Giver, and they're big on precise language, and precise language is important for complete clarity. There's no point in someone who's got a lot of verbalization in their head and you're doing a lot of head talk. Sometimes it gets to the point where you'll think you've said the stuff outside to someone and you haven't. And so they don't necessarily understand what you're saying. And verbalization and clarity of verbalization is extremely important for connection. At the moment, if anyone's watching this in 2021, this is a really chaotic time for communication and clarity, when people are told and then they're told to do that as well. These contradictory verbalizations, communications, can screw with people's minds, and I've seen it. I've seen it with two guys on a bus when they were trying to justify this, and then, but they're going to touch and they're going to go into this, and then they're going to this, and their hands are just the same as what they were before they went like this. So, we need to be more clear in how we are verbal. Frozen. I do apologise. My screen just froze. I don't know whether and it stopped recording. Oh, no, it's recording. Sorry about that. But when we do communicate and we don't understand what the communication is being expressed from someone else, we need to verbalise that confusion that we're having. Because if we don't, then that person that we are communicating with, they are going to assume we know, or they're going to assume that we agree. And if you don't say something, then you are, I think it's also in the laws, including the governments. If we don't say something, we are, by silence, we are consenting. And if you don't agree, then it's so important to verbalise it, because what happens is non-verbalisation of, I'm not quite happy about this, builds in the body. be aware of this, because everything that we do and we think and we feel, if we don't allow it to move and be expressed and then move on, then it will build in the body. And that slight annoyance or that slight confusion later becomes annoyance and then irritated if it's going down the angry path. And then it'll become quite angry, and then it could become quite rage, quite rageous. Like there are some certain, not car rallies, but, people rallies that are expressing their great irritation from things that haven't been communicated. This, coming back to your individual self, is the first port of call. We as an individual make our community, make our relationships, make our communities, make our countries, and make the planet. So it essentially comes back to the individual. So very, very, very important to be aware of how you verbalize within the realm of mind from that which you have thought or not thought, and then the thought comes later. So, thinking, speaking verbally out loud is one of the ways that we can help to gain better mental health. We don't know what we don't know. However, we know what we've asked and got an answer for. And if we're not sure and we come from another space within that feels uncomfortable, then we possibly aren't feeling that answer is quite appropriate, which leads me on to the next part. So we've got body with vitamins, mind with verbalization, and emotions with victory. Victory, I thought about this and I thought, what's an emotion that, well, you know what? Victory is an emotion because you feel something when you feel victorious. It's like, it goes all through you. And if you're easily receptive to your consciousness within, you'll feel the tingles. You'll feel that spiritual energy flourishing through your human existence, which is the whole purpose of this model, is to be more consciously aware through your human, tactile elements of body, mind, and emotion, because they are tactile. So the emotion of victorious is knowing that you are who you are because of what you do, how you think, and what you feel. And I say this, I've never heard it before, I'm saying it's my saying or I'm channeled it, you are more vast than the universe you bathe in. Now think about it. You are more vast than that universe out there. There is more depth to you than you could possibly imagine through thought. So therefore, traveling and journeying and knowing who you are is a life or lifetimes, depending on what you believe, journey. So knowing that, how powerful is that? Pardon me. So those days when we are vulnerable and we are fragile because we're human beings and we feel, that is something to remember. Be victorious. You have been given a life. And lives are so blessed. We are so blessed to have a life. I've already passed over once. I've already discussed it. Don't need to go over it. I'll do it again if I need to. Someone wants. But, this is a blessing. So honor it. So be victorious. Honor who you are. Do what you're meant to do in your purpose. And if you don't know, keep asking before you go to sleep at night, because you are worth it. Be aware, holistic healthcare, body, mind, and emotions. And above all, love always, because love does conquer all, even in the darkest depths. Namaste, and have a beautiful day or night. Thank you.